In today's video, which is the second of a series, How to Be Okay When the World Around You Is Not, we're going to talk about three things. Number one, returning to yourself. Number two, learning how to transform suffering by being present with it. And number three, learning how to imagine a better world and a healed world. Now, that might sound lofty at first glance, but remember, this video is about how to be okay when the world is not. And if you saw the first one, then hopefully I convinced you why it's important to be okay when the world might not be. And secondly, hopefully you tuned into your own intuition about what you needed to do for yourself, what kind of basic care you needed, which might sound a little cliche, but can actually be super transformative. So I'm curious, did you do it? Did you do any of those things? If you didn't, that's okay. It's not too late, and it's always an ongoing journey. But for now, let's talk about returning to yourself on a very deep level. If you want to be okay when the rest of the world is not, then it's time to stop behaving like society expects you to or wants you to. The things that we've been socialized to do that are not serving us, we don't have to do. It's time to think for yourself, and it's time to trust your intuition on what you want to be doing. It's okay to do something that the rest of the world might not look at as successful or productive. And in fact, if that's the thing that really gives you joy, not only is it okay to do that, I think it's essential to do that. So I'd love for you to right now just list three things that you've always wanted to do, but have gotten mixed messages from the world about. And see if there's one thing you can do this week to take a step towards one of those things. And if you're already doing something like that, I want you to list three ways in which you're holding back or something that you're afraid to do because of judgment from people around you. Now, the next piece to being okay is to really learn to sit with suffering. So yes, follow your joy, but let's be real, life isn't always a cakewalk. And suffering is just a part of it. Now, we can increase this suffering, or we can learn to use it. So ways we increase our suffering are pretty much trying to avoid it. Anything we try to do to escape the way we're feeling or try not to see what's really going on around us, it's going to do more damage. So another essential power for you is to be able to look at what's truly happening, even if it's painful, and to sit with your own pain. I really love a recent podcast. If you've ever listened to Dr. Huberman, he did an interview with Martha Beck. And you already know I'm a Martha fan. And in this interview, she talked about for so long in her life with her pain and suffering, she tried to just let it go. And then one day she decided, okay, let me let it stay. And she said, let it stay. And she sat with it, and she was just present with the suffering. And as she watched it transform before her very eyes. And I have had similar experiences. Sometimes things transform in a moment, and sometimes, like with big grief, the only way to get through the grief is to feel it and to really, really let it out. If you avoid big, hard things, they're going to fester, they're going to convolute, they're going to come out in other ways. So the ability to let it stay and let it be, it can't be replaced, honestly. And I do have a practice that I like to do to help me do these things. It's called Tonglen, and it's a Buddhist practice. And you can look it up. There's some great teachers for this, far better at explaining it than I am. But the version I use is first for myself. I sit with my pain, and as I inhale, I just notice my pain. And I visualize almost like black smoke coming up and out of me as I inhale. And then I visualize it turning to golden light and exhale. And then I go to the people around me and I see their pain. I try to see what's actually happening. sometimes even if I'm sitting across from someone who's telling me a difficult thing, instead of just trying to jump in and fix it, give them advice, which we all know doesn't help either. They just need someone who can be present with their suffering, can listen to their pain. So I just breathe and do this to help me be present with what they're saying instead of trying to resist it or make them laugh and not feel it, which again ultimately does so much more damage. And then you can extend this practice to the whole world. So, listening to the news, hopefully from a credible source, but we hear about the things that are going on in the world. Sometimes it can honestly be too much to bear. But it's also important not to ignore the suffering of the people in the world around us, especially if we want to see the world heal and see a better world. So I've done this for, if you think about a war-ridden country, you can inhale the suffering, turn it to golden light, and exhale it. And it might not seem like you're doing that much, but what you're doing for yourself is you're allowing yourself to be able to tolerate and hold space for painful things and suffering. And in doing so, you're building the skill that ultimately will relieve suffering in yourself and in other people. And you'll see it transform. And sometimes I do it, just for entire groups of oppressed people. You can see in the world things that are really not going well for certain groups of people, anywhere from, like women around the world, or, people that are experiencing significant racism, or, the system seems to be stacked against them. Same thing. It's so important to be able to look at it, to hold space for it, to inhale it, watch it transform, and exhale it. And it's funny because doing these things, you might find yourself taking tiny actions that you don't even realize you're taking, but visualizing it first, seeing the truth of it, ceasing to ignore the pain around us is almost, counterintuitively a really key piece to being okay. So I encourage you to try this one. You can look up Pema Chodron is an excellent teacher of Tonglen, and there's one more, Kara, I can't remember her last name. I'll put it in the notes in the description, but please check them out. I think it's great. Now, the last piece I want to talk about for being okay is something that, to my knowledge, I am the only one doing it like this, I guess. I'm sure there are other people. Actually, no, there are groups of people doing this, but I've recently, I guess this last year, started applying, those manifestation techniques that everyone uses to try to get their mansion or whatever they're hoping for, a dream job. First of all, it's real. Like, manifestation works. I think I'll do another video on when it works and when it doesn't and what people often get wrong. But it's always kind of bothered me that if manifestation works so well, why is everyone so caught up on trying to manifest $1 million for themselves when we could be manifesting $1 million for every person on earth, and everyone is okay and we all get along and there's peace and the earth is healed? That's always bothered me, and it's taken until this year for me to start acting on it by changing the way I'm meditating, because I was guilty. I was a part of that group. I'm like, well, maybe if I'm okay financially, then I can start being generous and helping the world. Or maybe if, everything in my life is perfect, then I can focus on other things. But it doesn't work like that, because things for you are never going to be perfect until they start to be better for everyone else. If we're all so connected. So if one of us is suffering on some level, we're all still going to be suffering. So what I've started doing is I go into, whether it's a state of meditation or prayer, and I visualize a world that is peaceful and an earth that is healed. And sometimes it's an image of just everyone kind of sitting down full of light, meditating in peace as well. And other times it's something different. And I'm sure if you do it, you would see something different too. But I'll talk about this one more in the future. This is just kind of a teaser to get you started. And even if in my lifetime I don't see all of these things happen, the fact of the matter is that just visualizing this alone helps get me out of that dark place that we've all been to when the news starts to overwhelm you and the anxiety of every other person in the world starts to overwhelm you, and the setup where it seems like things aren't looking so hot can bring you down. Visualizing it this way is enough to get you out of that state, and that alone is reason to do it. But I have found evidence that it's actually also productive. There have been studies done where I think a group of people meditated. The one I'm thinking of was in Washington, D.C., and they got together and they meditated on, I'm going to have to look it up. I don't want to misquote it, but I believe they just meditated on peace, and they saw crime rates in Washington, D.C. during those times of those meditations statistically significantly decrease. And this has happened all over. I think that for both prayer and meditation for peace, it does seem to affect the area around it. So I wish there were more studies on this to show it, but there's been enough to convince me. And if you end up researching this or looking into it and find any studies, please do share them in the comments. I think that this is something that I'd really like to look into more in the future because we need it. We honestly really need it. But for now, even if it's just to change you and your state of mind, it's worth it. Because when you change your state of mind and you're feeling good, the people around you start to feel good. And that ripple effect carries outward. So I hope one of these 3 things resonated with you, and I hope that your day got just a little bit better. For now, no matter where you are or what you're doing, I hope that every minute of every day you start to feel more and more okay, and that life becomes more joyful, more peaceful, and more mind-blowing than you ever could have imagined.